This is Pod Populi, podcast for the people.
Welcome to the Real Pink Diaries, a podcast about the beautiful chaos of figuring it out as you go.
Hosted by three close friends, each episode creates a safe space for honest, unfiltered conversations about the in-between moments of adulthood.
From building businesses to setting boundaries, we're here for all of it. With humor, vulnerability, and heart, it's not always polished or perfect. It's the Real Pink Diaries.
Welcome everyone to the Real Pink Diaries. How are you, Missy and Amy?
Doing good today.
Doing good.
Decent. A little loopy, I'm not going to lie, but I'm doing okay.
I know. Today we're recording in the morning, which we usually do it in the afternoon, so it's a little earlier for us.
Yeah.
to do this.
Really.
What about you, Missy?
I'm doing good. It's cloudy out, you know.
It's been raining every single day. Can't wait for this to stop.
I kind of love it. I love I love like rainy, stormy days where you just cuddle under a blanket. Like, oh my goodness, that's my vibe.
I like it when it's cloudy because I can go outside and be less worried about sun.
Like getting burnt from the sun.
Yeah, I can be less worried about being like, I mean, you still have to be attentive with your sunscreen when it's like this outside. But
really? Oh,
yeah.
I'm not good at
there's
that.
still UV rays getting at you, so you still have to put on sunscreen. But I like being less worried about being sunburned.
I do like the temperature is getting better and it's
I know
it's
you
less
can
warmer.
go like walking the dog is so much better when it's like cloudy out. Oh my god.
Yeah, I know.
I know. We got on a weird tangent.
Like the little bit of like it's like 5 degrees cooler. It's been a lot nicer.
Yeah.
Right.
Although it does seem like it's raining more now, which has been great because I think we do need the
rain. So I'm very happy today, not only for this topic, which is very special, something very special to me and close to my heart, but also on a very quick tangent. My brother just bought their first home and he just turned into a homeowner, and I'm very happy for him and his wife to start this new phase and new journey.
Yay, Mo!
So today we're gonna talk about my bilingual experience in the United States and my story as an immigrant. And since I was born in Cuba, my journey going to Spain, then Spain to the United States, and how did I, figure it out, and also building a career and learning a second language. We're gonna dive into that, and I will let Missy lead the questions.
So this is actually going to be broken up over 2 episodes, you guys.
Or 3, who knows? We'll see.
We don't know how to write a short episode.
We're working on it.
So where were you born?
So I was born in Cuba, and I was born in Cardenas, Matanzas.
So for those of us who don't know Cuba, can you tell us a little bit about
like city?
It's a small town.
Okay.
Very close to the beach. Close to Varadero, which most people that go to Cuba, they go to Havana and Varadero. It's like Varadero is very touristic, a lot of hotels. So Cardenas is about 20-30 minutes from Varadero. So I grew up in a small town, very close to the beach. So going to the beach was something that we will do very often on the weekends. That was part of our lives. It's very similar here, right? So on island life.
What did your family and stuff do for fun? And you lived in a downtown, like urban context, right?
It was close to the downtown area, very close. You can walk to it, but obviously we didn't have cars or anything back then.
You walked
so it was
everywhere.
a lot of bicycles and walking. But it was a small town close to the downtown area. A lot of walking, bicycles. That's the way we and also horses and carriage. I don't know, really.
For real?
Yeah.
Oh.
For real. You still go to Cuba. That's the main thing, especially in Cardenas.
And your dad had a vintage Chevrolet, right?
Yes. He had a couple, but the last one was from 1956 that he really took a lot of good care of it and restored and all of that. But I had a great childhood with, I was the only daughter, I was only me for 7 years until my brother was born. That was definitely a shock at first. I was very jealous, and it was like a transition and adaptation. We get along very well, but that was, growing up in a very close family. I have my brother, went to school, I did the whole thing, college, went to the university. And yeah, eventually we decided to make the move to Spain. So that happened, I will say, because of the situation in Cuba. And I think I mentioned this in the manifestation episode, the law of manifestation, that, it was very limited and we always wanted more. So my dad also was unhappy at his job and there was a lot of things happening. So we had the ticket to leave Cuba, and that was that my grandfather was born in Tenerife, Canary Islands. And because of that, my dad was a citizen, and therefore all of us were able to get our visa in Spain and live as a family.
Because the law had recently changed to allow that, right?
Right. At first, that wasn't possible, but then the law changed, and then my dad was able to become a citizen, and then the rest after. But it took us about 5 years to leave the country, the whole process.
Wow.
From him getting the citizenship, then us getting all the paperwork and registration and the embassy in Havana, and then the whole process with Spain to get the visa in Cuba. So yeah.
Wow.
So when you were in high school, what were your extracurriculars? What were your interests? And then what did that lead into you majoring in college?
In Cuba. So I always was very artistic. Like I liked dancing. I was in gymnastics and modeling. And I always was very attracted to all those artistic pursuits, I guess you'll call it. I honestly, when I was finishing college, and Cuba is a little different than here, the structure, how the years and the college degrees work. But when I was ready to decide what to do, go to university and what am I going to study. And that was a moment where I thought I wanted to go into science, something with science. But then I also liked language and history somewhat, but it wasn't very defined for me. I love, this is my passion, let's do this.
Yeah.
So, and then someone said, well, but you're really good and very artistic. Why do you just go for architecture and take the test? And I said, okay, well, I can give it a try. And I studied for that. It was a process to get there. They were only allowed a few people I think they had to get into the Havana University to study architecture. You had to go through this very restricted process, and then they will only pick a few people from each city in the country.
So it's very selective.
It's very selective. So I did the whole thing, and I was one of the person that was selected. So I decided to go and study architecture in Havana, and I really enjoyed it. I did a year and a half before I moved to Spain.
So you actually started university
in Cuba. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So then you go to the Canary Islands, which is in the Atlantic. Can you kind of explain where that is?
Yeah,
for those?
So it doesn't make any sense saying that it's part of Spain, because when you look at the map, it's really part of Africa, kind of. Yeah. It's very close to Africa, but Spain took over many years ago. So it's kind of a colony. It's a colony of Spain. So many people say they went from the burro to the Mercedes, and I'll explain this in English. It went from a third country to owning Mercedes and driving Mercedes when Spain took over. So there was a boom of construction and the industry. So we went there obviously because we have family in Spain. Also, my grandfather was from there, and that's why we decided to go there and not somewhere else in Spain. Canary Islands, there are 7 islands near Africa. We were to Tenerife, which was the capital of the 7 islands. It's still a very small island when you compare it to Cuba. And you could drive the whole island in one day.
So you felt you were, even though Cuba didn't have a ton of technology and access, you went from a bigger city to a smaller city, but with more access per se.
Yes, yeah. Definitely. It was definitely a cultural shock too, because all the development and everything in Spain obviously was nothing that I had seen before, nor my family. As just starting just by going to the supermarkets and seeing all this food or the malls. We never seen a building like that, a structure like that. It was like a cultural shock, but I think it was a great experience that we went to Spain before coming here, because it was an easier transition to come to the States.
So when you went to Spain, what was the experience? Like, how did you feel? How was it being a Cubano going to Spain, and how did you feel? How was culturally?
So we were very, very excited and extremely grateful to be there. And I always felt, I mean, we came even closer as a family, became even closer because that's all we had, us. We didn't have friends. We didn't know people. Thankfully, we had the language, was Spanish, so we didn't have to learn that. We had to learn that later coming here. But at first it was very exciting. And then we started thinking about getting jobs, and my parents couldn't get jobs at first. So I was the first one and the only one for a while having a job. So we brought some savings with us from Cuba, and we used that to get a place, to rent an apartment. And then the money was going out and nothing was coming in. So it was a combination of super excited and grateful, plus sure, we had to figure this out. Like, we had to make money. Like,
gotta make it work.
We had to make it work.
Yeah.
Like, what are we gonna do? And then my parents couldn't find a job, and then and what I made wasn't even like a lot. So it was just enough to at least not use our savings and just really pay the rent and the food and the utilities and the bills and all the stuff. But it was, in general, a great experience. Although we went in 2007, we started the immigration to Spain, which was the economic crisis in the world outside. So we got there and still was a lot better than we had in Cuba. So it was definitely still to today's, we have great friendships there and family is still there. So it was a great experience for us.
What was the feeling like? How did you feel living in Spain?
I mean, I enjoyed it. It was a happy place. I met a lot of people. So I made a lot of connections. I have my family with me, so although I have friends and other family in Cuba, I didn't feel like lonely or, that I have the main people with me.
So
we're all together.
How did you find your friends?
Oh, by first working, my first job, and then my second job, and then there were a lot of younger people there. I started making connections, and I started university a year after. And I can get into that. So how that happened.
So in the beginning, you were supporting your whole family?
I was supporting my whole family for, I can't remember how long. Then my dad was able to find a job. I was 19 years old, and my brother was 7 years younger, 12. So he couldn't work. So it was me and my parents. And I had never, ever worked before in my life. In Cuba, it's not a thing that you work and study. At least when I was in Cuba, the system is designed to study until you graduate, and then you figure out what to do with your life, get a job. But so I never worked in 19 years of my life until I got to Spain. And then I had, in addition to starting a new life from scratch, I had to learn how to have a job and I was working at a bakery. That was my first job. Learn how to do things and cook and just work with people and service people. And so it was definitely a lot of learning, a great experience, I think, and it was a great foundation.
So there was also things that you were not familiar with coming to Spain, part of the EU, even if it's in like kind of remote, like the Canary Islands, there were systems like, did you know how to manage your money or finances? Like, how did you?
Right. We went from a completely different system where we have credit cards and debit cards and checks and all of that. And before then, we had no idea what that was. So it's just starting to learn how to manage your money and not be consumed by, all the new system and the capitalism. But it was good. It's just learning how to navigate through that. And I had my parents managing the money at first. Everything I made was put into the family. And my dad was the main one managing the money, making sure everything,
So you had never seen a credit card before? You'd never had a checking or bank account before you went?
I mean, bank accounts we have in Cuba, but I wasn't even super involved in that either. It was my parents.
Everything was cash.
Everything was cash.
Yeah. You didn't have a bank come to your elementary school and help you set up a savings account?
That's what you guys had?
Oh, that's what I had. I don't know about you, Amy.
Well, my mom just was like, here's this credit card, you get to use it once and I'll show you how to pay it off. And we'll do this for a year so you have credit. And like that's the only
Oh, you see? That's the
yeah,
other
like
thing,
my
building
mom
credit.
knew stuff and I was just like, yes, ma'am. All right, we'll do that. And like I could go and like I think it was for my birthday, I could spend something on the credit card once and then I immediately paid it off and that was done.
That's awesome.
That's great. I got my first credit card like post-college just because I was afraid of them.
I think I got it in high school. I think that's when she started.
No, actually, when I got a credit card, Natalie Yaima, bought a computer. I needed a new computer. I went over to your house when you were still in the very first house with like not a lot of furniture.
Yeah.
I looked at the computer. I'm like, oh, this is a good computer. I like just copying what my friends do. So then I was like, I will buy same computer, which I still have said computer. It is on its last legs. But then I was like, oh, well, if I'm going to buy this computer, I should also get credit card.
Oh, like you bought the computer with a credit card?
I set up a credit card just to buy the computer so I could start building credit.
Wow, that was so much later than I thought you had a credit card.
I've seen like, they're kind of scary credit cards,
Not if you understand like pay it off.
How it works.
Or like, how to manage it. Yeah, it's different.
And that was something that I learned to come in here to the States, because in Spain, there's no such a thing as building your credit. That doesn't exist there.
Oh, really?
The credit bureau is how you call
Yeah.
it? That doesn't exist there.
It's very confusing.
And they use a lot more the debit cards than the credit cards. So it's not like here that they tell you it's better to use, even for safety reasons, to use your credit card versus your debit card more. There is the opposite. That they see credit cards as a liability. So
I mean, they understand the fear of using it incorrectly. That makes sense. Yeah.
right. So you use a lot more cash and debit cards than you use here.
Yeah, but here you have to build your credit. It doesn't make any sense because my credit score will fluctuate like 50 points in no relationship to like me making any modifications in how I use it. It's so weird. But
I mean,
anywho,
it's confusing to most people. Let's just be honest.
So when you were
It's not an exact science for sure.
So when you were in Spain, you had 3 different jobs.
In the period of 6 years, yeah.
Your mom was working, your dad was working, you were working, and you were able to bank a lot of money. And then you somehow managed to do that in architecture school, which is not easy.
I don't even understand how that's possible.
Yeah, and I was working full time, and then when I started university, I went to full time, and I wasn't able to also go into architecture right away. First, they didn't have architecture in that. They're small islands, so they didn't have architecture in Tenerife. I would had to have gone to a different island and study if I wanted to pursue exactly architecture, and I was not in the position to leave my family and just go adventure.
Yeah, like peace out.
So I stayed there and I went with the closest thing to architecture, which was building engineering, which a blend between engineering and architecture. And they call it there ingeniería de edificación or aparejador. And that's what I did. So I transitioned from full-time to part-time. And then thankfully at that point, my parents were working. So it was a better situation for me to transition to part-time.
Oh, you went down part-time working. I was thinking like a student. You went,
part-time working to be able to study and work. And but still I was working on summers full-time, holidays, any time that I didn't have school or seasons.
Did you complete your degree there?
Yes, 6 years, and I completed in 5 years.
Girl?
Yes. Yes, I was extremely blessed that I found. At first, I was supposed to gone through a harder way to get into the university. I had done like a lot of different tests, like everybody else, to transition to university. I met some people, and I brought all my papers from Cuba, and I was able to obtain credits.
Nice.
For the architecture degree.
Nice.
Or the year and a half or less than a year and a half that I had. And that allowed me at least to get into the degree, the university, without taking these tests. So it was easier. I still had to do the whole 5 years, but it was easier to get into the degree.
So now you have your degree.
I graduated.
And what was like your family? What were they thinking? Okay, she got a degree. What's next?
So as I was getting to that point, finishing the career, Spain wasn't really recovering as fast as other places in the world. A lot of students or people who studied with me, they were leaving to other places in Europe, like Germany or London, just to find opportunities. There weren't a lot of opportunities in Canary Islands. for art industry. So I said, well, what am I gonna do? I either go do the same thing, or we had the opportunity to come to here, to the States. We have family, and we could do that. And also, I was very excited to learn a new language.
Oh my goodness.
Well, you already had a basis in English, right? You already
Yeah,
knew
I mean,
it.
in Cuba, we study English. It's always, as if you don't practice it, if you don't speak it, it's hard to keep it. But I had a foundation in English. But I had to still learn pretty much everything coming to the States. So that was in 2013. We made the move to come to the States. I had a degree in Spain and all of that then had to bring over and start all over again.
But you did graduate top of your class. You were awarded some of the highest honors in the school, and you're qualified as an engineer or architect to be licensed in the European Union.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, which is different from here. Here-
Different system.
Different system, yeah.
Related, but different. So you came, so you're like, okay, we need better opportunities. US, you identified the US. You came to the US. What was that like?
So that was back in 12 years ago. And it was the best decision we ever made. We said, if we want to keep growing, and especially my brother and I, both as young people, we wanted to search for opportunities. We had to do something. And my parents, they've been very, very supportive always. And they say, well, let's do it all together. We all go to United States, but for them it was very important to have a house. And then because we had some savings that we've built over the years in Spain, and at that time timing just worked for us as far as like the exchange, and we were able to buy more dollars with the savings we had. Yeah.
With the exchange rate between okay, that makes sense. Okay.
And also, this was 2012, where
2012.
Things were somewhat affordable still in Florida at that
Yes.
point. Not saying that it's still not. I mean, we were both living here at the same time, and we weren't able to buy a house. But your family purchased a house. What was your first impressions of Florida?
Oh my gosh. So my mom came first with my brother, and then I came with my dad. And I already had seen pictures and all that, but on the airplane, looking at Florida, I was like, why I don't see any mountains? Like, this is not okay. Like, this is not normal. Like, coming from Cuba, that we have a lot of that, and then Spain was all of it. It was like the entire island was a lot of mountains everywhere, and just like flat and green, like, and these lines and no trees. Like, what's going on? Like,
So to make this clear, you came from a region that was formed with like volcanic activity, and you came, and then you went to the Canary Islands, which was also rather had topography.
Yeah.
And then you come to Florida, which was kind of built up historically on a sandbar, and you're like, why is it so flat? Have you ever been to the Florida Ridge, though? Have you ever drove across the state and noticed it gets like high?
no.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't even know that. What are you talking about?
There's like the Florida Ridge. There's like a point, and there's some like roads that when you go on it, you can like see it, like where it starts. And then there's also like, you'll notice like when you're driving up through the middle of the state, some of the clay will.
Oh, wait, is that Bok Tower? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about a geographic formation.
I don't know, but like it's on a hill. I'm only thinking like there's a tiny hill that has Bok Tower in Florida. And, like,
No,
is that
there's
the highest elevation?
there's a lot of hills in Florida, but there is the Florida Ridge. And then like when you're driving up, like if you get through Orlando or to some like places that are a little bit more hilly, you'll notice that some of the sand will be kind of orange, and it will be ridge sand.
No idea. We have to learn more things about Florida.
Maybe I have to drive that. I have to
Just drive the Tampa, you'll see it. Just drive the Tampa. But it's also too because not topographically, but the like trees kind of change. It kind of changes into like shrub. Like Winter Haven is kind of like in this area, and in different places like that. But anywho, so you come to Florida, dude, it's flat.
Yeah.
And you buy a house
in an area that was
more suburban.
Yeah, Port St. Lucie. That's what, and the reason why we picked Port St. Lucie is because first the houses, we had family in Port St. Lucie, and the houses seemed to be more affordable there than other areas, the surrounding areas. And because we had the family, we were able to buy the house, still be in Spain, and with the whole thing remotely.
Oh, wow.
In 2012.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that y'all did it that way.
Yeah. And
so it was like sight unseen?
our family in Port St. Lucie saw it for us.
Okay.
Yeah,
There's some, okay.
So Adeline's going to...
Without them, we probably would have done it because we had no clue how anything here worked.
So Adeline
Yeah.
saw your house before you did. Her cousin Adeline.
So her dad and her mom, they were amazing. They they helped us tremendously. And that's why we picked Port St. Lucie, because they were there and willing to help us. And they helped us to get the house, buy the house, the whole thing. Then Port St. Lucie was the place. I remember my first impression just driving. I was like, it was so isolating, I felt at first. And it was just a lot of driving and no houses. And it felt that you had to take the car and drive 10, 15 minutes to get anywhere.
You do. You do.
That's accurate.
You do.
That's
and
very
it's
accurate.
in Port St. Lucie, like it's a suburb, and it's like an hour away still, or 45 minutes away from West Palm. So it's like
where I live. Yeah.
Yeah. So you do have to drive everywhere. It's a suburban experience. And
It's like the houses are far away, and then you drive to get to places to have fun or whatever.
And a lot of retirees, not the best place for younger people, especially starting a new life and trying to meet people and socialize. It was not the best place for that, definitely.
You're like, where are her friends?
I know. I was like, how do I meet people? It was a little depressing, I can say.
Well, I just showed up at your office one day,
Thank
and then I
God.
was like, "Young person, you will be my friend." And I think I just who are you? I think I like walked up to you and said hi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I met you. You just walked up to me and said hi.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot easier to make. It's weird because like it's hard to make friends as an adult, but when you're like 20 something, you can walk up to anyone and like, let's be friends.
Yeah, I know.
Sure.
So that was my first impression coming to the States. And although we were extremely happy, I was also internally like in shock, and I was a little depressed, I feel like, just seeing where I was and where I came from, Tenerife and Spain. But, shortly after, we started to figure out what to do as a family. And I knew I didn't want to work in the same things that I was working in Spain, just having working for restaurants or bakeries, or my last job, which was actually the first job, was working for like a Best Buy kind of store. And I just didn't want to do that. I wanted to try to get into the architectural and engineering world here. I was willing to learn.
You wanted to use your education. I mean, who doesn't finish a degree and then be like, well, this is
What do I do now?
Probably a good idea to use this, and if I can, unless you have a completely different vision that was formed during school. I've seen that happen too, but yeah.
And I had to do a lot of research. That was the other thing. What do I do with my degree in Spain? What do I do here? Can I get the equivalent degree? What can I do? That was an entire year of researching, calling to. They didn't have, I remember, the place that usually does the translations and all the book that you submit to, like the board of engineers. That's what I did. My case was the first case from Spain, a building engineering degree, trying to get the equivalent degree here.
That's being the first person. They're like, we don't know anything.
So it was a lot of like me trying to figure out with not want to ask someone who had gone through the process before. But I realized that the way to do it was to get all the documents from Spain, get everything translated, and they put a lot of stamps of whatever the process is. And I sent it, instead of taking that to a college or university and say, this is what I have, what do I have to do? Because they don't give you much credits at all. They want you to do almost the whole thing again. And I took it to the board of engineers in Tallahassee. I sent it, and sort of like if I was applying to do the FE, the first exam for engineering, and I was denied. I knew I was going to be, but I wanted to know what I was missing. What do I needed to do to get there? Yeah. And they gave me exactly what I needed. It was like 33 credits that I had to take. It was chemistry, mathematics, a few things. And I did that while working and online after work. I did that in a period of 2.5 years and got my civil engineering equivalent here.
When I still have like my Polly Pockets from when I was a kid. Yeah,
What is Polly Pocket?
It's like a little. It's like a little case, and in the case you open it up, and there's like a little like doll house.
It's like a little vignette. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't for the life of me bring myself to get rid of them or purge them. They're sitting in a box, and I look at them, and I'm like, oh, these are nice, and then I just put them back in the box. Even though I would like to get rid of stuff, but you went from Spain. Or from Cuba to Spain, or from the Canary Islands to the U.S., and you only took a suitcase every single time.
Yes, that's exactly. It's 19 years in Cuba, just pick up whatever you can, put it in a suitcase, go to Spain, and do the same thing 6 years after to come here. And I think because of that, I got addicted to change, and I got
You're like,
like I need
my
change
life.
in my life. I need change, and also I'm not attached to any material things like clothes or yeah. Obviously, you have some sentimental items that you try to get with you always. I think it was definitely hard, but you do it because you know it's what we wanted to do. We made that decision.
Yeah,
Packing 6 years of your life in one suitcase to start over again a second time. I can't even. Wow. That's just a testament to like the cojones that you have. I will say.
You know some Spanish,
I know
the good ones
from you. But I don't know, the conversations you must have in your head of like fight or flight, like make it work. I gotta get going. This has to work. I'm gonna do whatever I have to do. I'm gonna figure it out. Even when you came here and you're like, I'm the first person to try to, figure out my degree here. And you're just like, well, no one's helping me, so I'm gonna figure it out again. So it's like you always have this internal dialogue of like, I got this. I'm gonna make it work. Or like, were you terrified? Like, how were you internally?
I think I had that mindset of I have to make it work. We went through all of these. This is our second time going through immigrating to a different country. There is not room for failure. I wanted to make it work, and I was just it was terrifying. Definitely, it was sometimes was, as I said, like I cried, a lot of emotions. It was frustrating at times. I wanted things to go faster than they were going. I had to go through all these obstacles and learn a lot of things, and it was a lot. But I had that mindset where just have to keep going. And I feel also my family, they always follow me. So I've been the pillar of my family for many years through the whole immigration journey. And even from Spain to here and Cuba to Spain, I was always very positive. And I think that's also because I was very young.
You're super naive.
If you had to pick up and move tomorrow,
that would be a different story.
Yeah, that would be a different story for sure. You think a lot more things, and wait, but we have now a son. Like, where are we gonna? There's a lot, and that's how my parents saw it. But me, with 19 years old and then 23 years old, I was like, just do it. I have my parents with me. Like, I didn't think of. I always kept it very positive, but I didn't have any fears. I was just do it, brave. But I think because of my age too,
and also like. Okay, the first transition of starting over, you knew the language. Now there's an extra barrier of like, I'm going to start over again I now understand capitalistic society, sort of, not 100% because it's not exactly the same as Spain. But now you're starting with a barrier of language.
Exactly.
I can't even imagine. And it's like technical. Like, if you want to get into engineering, that's very technical language.
So
yes. And that was the beginning of my journey and as a ESL person, immigrant, bilingual. Definitely as I had the basics, but I had to learn a whole new thing. And at first you are very shy to make mistakes in front of people, and you don't really know how to communicate efficiently. And it's a lot of, back and forth. My brother and I, because we were younger, we were the ones communicating mostly for my parents too. Like even going to a supermarket, going to Walmart or somewhere, we had to learn how to communicate those things and the system and build the credit. That was a whole new thing. I was like, what do you mean? Building credit.
I have money. It's in my hands.
Do you not see my that for?
Do you not see my savings account? What? But anywho, so let's stop here. Let's stop your story here, and let's continue the next episode of how you started. You learned a new language, ESL, English as a second language, and you start to pursue the American dream in the U.S. So thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. We are on social media. Just follow us at the Real Pink Diaries, Instagram and Facebook. We are also on YouTube. And if you like to give us a review, we will really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well,
thank you so much. See you in the next one.
See you next time.
Ciao.
Thank you for listening. We had so much fun, and we'll look forward to spending time with you in the next episode.
Please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Real Pink Diaries. You can also find us on YouTube. Check out our show notes for additional ways to connect with us.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.